By Remax Diamond Realty.
Okay, everybody, let's put together a hypothetical situation. You have land, you're motivated, you have a plan, and you have time. Are you registered? That's why Liz is here from Remax Diamond Realty Guam, because she is going to give us the information that we need to make sure that we handle the property properly. I can't even say that. Thank you for being here to straighten out everything, all the questions that I have, and hopefully get me tongue-tied. So thank you so much. So we've talked about getting the property ready, doing all the stuff to get everything in line, but we've never really touched on registration yet.
Well, we normally, of course, the first thing we would ask, what is your lot number? And the next thing I would do is get a map. And I just did this recently. I requested for a map, and I was given feedback that the map was not registered. So when you have a piece of land, of course, you have to define where that property is. And in order to define that, you need a survey, and you need to have the points marked. And of course, this is all work a registered land surveyor would do for you. So you do need to get these. So for example, if you had property subdivided, that piece, that map, that subdivision has to go through land management, and they have to go through the proper approval process to have them approve it in order for them to stamp it, certified and approved by land management. We've had maps drawn that went through part of the process and didn't finish it. And sometimes people forget that you're missing a step here. You do have to get it registered. So a surveyor, a registered surveyor, is really needed for that purpose. We've had some people that have come to us and have said, we have this property, here's the lot number, and we're not quite sure where the property is. So at that point, of course, we had to go to a surveyor. The interesting part is, what does the surveyor do? They go back and they do research. Was the land registered previously? They go back in the historical data to see how did this property come about. And the interesting part with that one piece, it said south of the row of, I guess there were north, south, they were using Spanish time. They were using certain land references that no longer exist. So that surveyor took a while to even trace it, like what does that mean? I guess they were referencing some Tunwan something, the Spanish names. So they were referencing those points. Well, it took, I think, about a year or two before I finally got some concrete evidence of where they think that property actually lies. So in that respect, the next step was the family would have to hire them to actually go and mark those points and then register that map with land management to make it a valid registered piece of property. So anyone, of course, most of the properties in the central areas are already registered, but you may not want to take that for granted, because there's one piece I know in Agana where they're telling me the map is not registered. So now I'm telling the family we got to go back to the surveyor, check the map, take it to land management, and record it. They have to show that it's registered.
And if I should do any manipulation, because Gina was talking about this like last week, if you have parental subdivision or a lot is broken up into different, parcels, it's subdivided in whatever way, does the map have to be redone, and is this just part of the normal process?
The normal process is if you have one square piece of property, and let's say you're subdividing it, and you're dividing it into 3 or 4 parcels, that map has to be done and taken to land management, get the proper approvals. Once they approve it, then the one lot becomes 4 or 5 parcels. And then the other step is, how is it deeded? How are the parcels? Of course, whoever, if you did that, then of course the 4 or 5 parcels will show Jason Salas as the owner, registered to you, because that surveyor cut the parcel up and they subdivided. Bear in mind, they'll only do that based on the zone, based on what is acceptable to land management. Now, what land management does is they'll review it, make sure it conforms to their guidelines, make sure there's access to each of those lots, because we cannot landlock a parcel where, let's say you have one piece that you can't get to. There's got to be easements or access
roads,
to that property. I've seen it happen, of course, where a parcel was cut up. There is an easement, but then the part of was sold, or they build in a way that the access was done through the family side. So now that they're trying to sell it, it's difficult. Anyway, we're detracting from the registration side.
No, this is
But
interesting
yeah.
because this is something that people, and this isn't something that is optional. People need to do this as part of them.
Yes.
This is the process.
Yeah, so when you subdivide, you definitely have to have your easements. And if you have easements that were established years ago, you want to make sure you look at the maps, because families eventually sell. And sometimes the access road that they're using was part through the family property and may have been part of the road that fed the property in the back that is now sold. And that person won't allow you to go through it because it's a new owner. So you got to make sure even your buildings are acquainted where the access part of the home or duplex is from your own easement.
Well, we are now empowered with information as always. So now we know that this is part of what you have to do. So Liz, we thank you so much for your help.
Thank you.
All right, please stay tuned, everybody. We are back after this.